So what triggers health anxiety? So first off, what is health anxiety? Well, health anxiety is when you're feeling anxious about health, when you're feeling anxiousness towards the state of your well-being. And then next off, what's a trigger? So a trigger, in the simplest term, is an unconscious thought process. So what do I mean by unconscious? Well, the reason why trigger is an unconscious process is because a trigger happens like that. Like, it's a thought process that happens in the flick of a trigger. And what happens with this unconscious thought process is that it becomes so routine to the individual that it goes below consciousness and it just happens. It's the subconscious mind has a faster processing rate than the conscious mind. So that's why it's a trigger, and that's why it seems to happen so instantaneously, when really there's actually this whole link of events behind this that create this thought process and create the symptoms of health anxiety, whether that looks like panic, or whether it looks like physical symptoms, whether it looks like loss of sleep, whatever the symptoms are. That's what a trigger, an unconscious process, can do. So where does this unconscious thought process come from? Well, truth be told, and the good news is, guys, is that it actually comes from the conscious mind. So at some point in time, you thought about the now unconscious thought process and made it so routine that it now just happens in the flick of a switch. So essentially what happens here is that let's just take panic. So if you're feeling physical symptoms and experience panic, let's take that as an example. So if you've got health anxiety and you're experiencing panic, when you have a symptom, all that's happening is that in real time, your thought of the panic, or whatever the thought is that you're worried about, ties in with the feeling of panic, and it also ties in with the symptom as well, possibly, and they just glue themselves together like this. And the more you do it, the stronger the glue gets. And when I work with my clients, we work at ungluing this glue and taking these thoughts apart and taking these feelings apart, so that they separate themselves, so that you can think the thoughts without having the feeling of panic and without experiencing the symptom. So now you may be wondering, why would somebody think in this unconscious thought process and create this trigger for themselves? Well, truth be told, there's a varying amount of factors here, and there is no right answer. Everyone is an individual. However, I'll name some of the more common reasons. So it could just plainly be from stress. It could be from an unhealthy lifestyle. It could be from experiencing physical symptoms and then just believing that they're ill. It may be some kind of fear that's sort of bubbling up and they're starting to believe that it's actually happening to them. So now you may be wondering, how does somebody get themselves to the place where they experience these symptoms of health anxiety? So taking a look at this from a hypnotherapy and an NLP approach, we can actually break the thought process down into into a technique that we use called strategies. So we have something called good strategies and something called bad strategies. The good strategies are the ones that are the strategies that we use to help us grow and to help us progress in life. And the bad strategies are the ones that keep us in the same patterns of thinking that we don't like and keep us stuck in life. So in this case, for someone who is experiencing the symptoms of health anxiety, or they're a hypochondriac, then I would consider this a bad strategy, because most of the time, in fact basically all the time, if someone's a hypochondriac, they don't want to be a hypochondriac, but they just experience, they can't help themselves. They've got themselves into this bad strategy, this bad pattern of thinking. And the reason why it's a strategy is because if you actually lay out every step of the process, it becomes predictable. It is a pattern of thoughts. And with every pattern of thought, you can break it down into smaller segments. And once you stop this process, you stop this loop, this cycle from happening, you can blow the entire behavior and basically the entire symptoms of health anxiety completely out of the window.